little package has arrived. Let's open this up, see what's inside. Wonder what that could be. I think it's a camera. It is a camera. So what we got here, this is a Canon, this is a DSLR, and this is the model number is the EOS Rebel T4i. So the reason I got this camera is because the common trait of most DSLR cameras, including that one that's recording now, it has one disadvantage. It can only record 30 minutes at a time, and that's kind of sucky when you you got stuff that goes over 30 minutes. So apparently, over across the pond, where these things are pretty much made and sold and yada yada yada, all the other happy horse crap, is they had a clause on these particular cameras, these DSLRs, being more of a photography, as in picture taking type camera. But as you know, that some of the DSLRs are also capable of shooting a video, and that's the of course, in this day, taking video is a lot more popular than taking photographs. So across the pond, they didn't want these to be sold as video cameras. So there was some stupid thing that Canon and the country across the pond, I believe it's Europe, for whatever reason, they decided that they were going to consider these as cameras, photography cameras, and not video cameras. So, whatever reason, to me it's stupid. Just sell them as they're intended to be, and yada, all that other crap. And so, apparently, that clause is now done, and I don't know if it's been renewed or not, but it would just take a matter of some firmware from the the mothership of Canon to say, you know what, now we'll just abolish the 30-minute video recording time and just let it go as long as it can, But they decided that there was other factors involved, like heat buildup being generated in the camera could overheat it and damage it, and the same thing with the cards. The cards may not be able to keep up, or it's all kinds of silly reasons that they decided to not uh, pursue as DSLRs as being a video camera, where you can just get yourself a inexpensive handy cam or a dedicated video camera, but they didn't want these little hybrids being considered a video camera. But anyway, so like I said, that the biggest disadvantage of these is that they only record for 30 minutes. So a lot of people have been drilling Canon, like, okay, well, let's make this record longer and this and that and all that other stuff. So it's talking to deaf ears, so it's not going to happen. So there is a solution to make these record longer, and it's a one of them volunteer based people that they on their spare time they tinker with the software in these things, and they figured out how to get in them to kind of like override the operating system that's in these things, and it's kind of like running two systems on one, kind of like a Macintosh, where you can run parallels and run whatever Windows operating systems that you would like to run. So they figured out how to do this on these things. So and that little program, it's called Magic Lantern, and Magic Lantern is basically an operating system that you put on your SD card, and it kind of overrides the operating system built into the camera, and the Magic Lantern software opens up the camera. I mean, you got access to parameters that are, never intended to be put on a camera like this, because this is like considered a entry level / mid-grade type professional camera. But with the software, it opens these cameras up to be a professional camera, where you can have access to how to figure out how gives you like zebra stripes, so you can see if your picture is over or underexposed. You can play with the precise focus on these things now with the Magic Lantern and stuff like that, and it's just and the shooting speeds. Like a lot of cameras, they're pretty much tapped out at 1080p, 60 frames a second. There is a couple of cameras, including this one that's shooting this now. It's capable of 4K. The problem with the 4K is that they crop it, so you don't get a full picture. It's cropped, so it's kind of like zoomed in. So if you were taking, a video of from the edge of the screen here to the edge of the screen over here, it would crop it to be like somewhere in between here and here, and then up here and down here. So it's and Canon has their sayings that the processor in here can't keep up and it overheats and stuff like that. So that's one of the biggest problems why Canon is kind of like just another company on the shelf compared to Sony and the other brands. Is they're almost lazy on not opening up the putting better processors in it and stuff like that, because you get a something like your smartphone, it can shoot 4K at whatever freaking frame rate you want, and it has the processing power to do your videos, which is the biggest reason why people they prefer their video cameras, because one, it's a lot more convenient. It's right there, in your pocket, and it's got the processing power, and a lot of these smartphones, they are capable of producing a pretty damn good image, but the only problem with the smartphones is they only got that tiny little camera with the limited optics. Where a DSLR is, you're not trapped to one lens. You can have any kind of lens you want. Whether it's your standard, 18 to 55 millimeter telephoto lens, or a dedicated 50 millimeter lens, or the really long suckers where you can, focus in on a your neighbor, three blocks away, doing a strip show. So so when I went onto the website, and I found that there is capability of playing with these things, and unfortunately with Magic Lantern, there's only a couple of models that that people have decided that they want to dedicate to. So and this is one of them. It's the T4i. There's several other models of Canon cameras that the people are working on, and they have they call it a nightly build, which is kind of like the most stable version of the software. And it's only like I said, it's only for a limited amount of cameras, and then they're working on other models, but it takes them years because it's a voluntary, and when people have time to play with them, and sometimes some cameras are just not capable of opening themselves up to the software, like this one here, which is it's the SL3. There's they call it on that one, they call it it's in open port status, but it's been in that status for years. And so who knows if ever anybody will decide to open up more cameras, because like I said, it's all voluntary. And so it's not like it's backed by Canon and saying that yeah, we'll dedicate our resources to the society, and you can do whatever you want. Canon wants their own operating system to be the standard, which is fine, and it's fine for most people. But if you like the control, which is the biggest reason I like DSLRs, because you got the control of your focus, and your exposure, and your ISO, and your aperture, and your various lenses you can use. So a camera like this is a lot more versatile, depending on what you're shooting, compared to like a handy cam, which is, they're fine for what they are, but it's a real pain in the ass to, go into the menus and select the exposure and your shutter speed and your aperture. Where on a DSLR, it's just a matter of just pushing a couple of buttons and playing with the dial up here, because like mine, like this one here, you got your ISO speed right here, and then you can set up your other functions, your autofocus, and your whatever you want to do, especially when you got it operating, and then you got the touch screen, to play with the settings and stuff like that, so it's just push and play. Where a lot of the handy cams, they're limited, so it's basically it is what it is. So I got this particular camera on eBay because this particular camera is many years old, but there's still a good camera, compared to most of the handy cams and stuff like that, your budget stuff like that. And of course the optics are far superior to a smartphone, where the smartphone has the brain power, and depending on what kind of application you got, where you can play with your your shutter speeds and your aperture and your ISO. You get a good program on your smartphone. You can it's pretty much at your fingertips. But like I said, you're limited to your optics and stuff like that. And optics is what gives you your good picture. So that is what it is. So like I said, I picked this up on eBay because they're all over eBay and they're fairly inexpensive. Something like this is only like 200 and change now, because these things are these are considered to be old cameras, compared to the new ones that, or a professional camera and stuff like that. But, like I said in earlier videos, all of my equipment, like the one that this one's shooting on, and this one here, and the handy cams that I got, they're all secondhand, and you can, I don't know if you can tell by the lighting, but it's in fairly good condition. A little quick rub down, get the, to clean it up, a little bit, where some of the dirt and grime is here in the kind of like leather-like texture here, but that'll clean right up. But there's no scratches, there's no gouges on the camera body itself. It looks like it was sitting on a shelf, for years. Somebody just picks it up, grabs it, and does their thing with it. Even with the touch screen, it's in very nice shape. I mean, there's no scratches on it. It's not all beat up, and because some of the stuff on eBay, it looks like it's been dragged behind a truck. But like I said, people who buy these cameras, they pretty much take care of them. They keep it in a bag. I keep mine in a bag and stuff like that. So it keeps them in good condition, keeps the dust off them. And they're not bouncing around. Because some people, they don't care. They just, they got it slinging around their neck. It's bobbing back and forth. They lean over, it gets bashed into the wall or whatever they're looking at, and they turn into basket cases, and then they try to sell them for $500 and the camera's only worth about $150 at most, just because of the condition of it. So anyway, enough babbling about that crap. So like I just took this out of the box, so let's see if it works, so I can give the seller of this a good rating and say, hey, it works, wonderful. So, as you've seen when I took it out of the box, there's no lens, because, most of these cameras, and you're going to have a bunch of them, especially if you have them, you got your standard, 55 to, whatever millimeter lens that comes with them, so most of them you're going to have a lens anyway. So I like, bare bones, operation here, just the camera. I wouldn't even care if it came with a charger, it makes no difference to me. But it's nice to have a charger, until you get, what you want to do. So, here's the charger. It's an AC charger, and I prefer the USB chargers. So I got that coming. It's going to take a little while for that to come here, because it's the holidays and shipping's all screwed up. You'll never get anything on time. Pretty much. And this day, shipping in December, it sucks. Like a good example is the chair that I'm sitting in, that I just built and had a video on YouTube with it. It's I was supposed to get it at a certain date, and they said, yeah, it's going to be here at a certain date, and then they decided, yeah, well, guess what? We're going to do you a favor. It's going to come in 2 days early. Well, when that date showed up, that date, it came and gone, and then, you waited the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and it didn't show up until 3 days later after the ship date. So, whatever. So we got the Canon charger and battery pack here. These particular battery packs, these are the LP-E8 type battery pack. They're a little unique compared to my other batteries, where the terminals are on one side of the battery pack. So where my other ones, they're all kind of like centered and they're a little different. But all battery packs are a little different and stuff like that. So the battery pack, they commonly go in the bottom of the camera. It's got the little door, and some cameras, like the one that's shooting this today, the battery and the card go in the same slot, which is kind of annoying when it's on a tripod and on a big mounting plate, because you can't access the card or the battery when it's on its tripod plate. So for the battery, not a big deal. They usually, they'll run a good long time on a pack. So you know, we'll stick the battery in there. What's nice about these is that your card access is on the side of the camera, which is really convenient. So the card slot is here on the slide, on the side of the camera. And we'll get a card here. So normally these cameras, they're kind of fussy on a particular card. So, you know, you want to buy the best card you can get to keep the cameras happy. And then sometimes, and not all cameras, but I do have a camera where it does not like the micro cards with the adapter. You know, where you stick the little card in the bigger card, and you stick the bigger card in your camera. I've had cameras that does not like the adapter for whatever reason, and it's just, you'll have to experiment to see if your camera likes it or not, because it'll fool you and it'll start recording, and then all of a sudden, you know, it could be a minute later, it could be 5 minutes later, it could be 15 minutes later, where it just stops recording and it says there's a problem with the card. So we'll stick this card in here, and usually the tabs, the contacts, usually face in front of the camera. It's the same thing with this one. So that's that, and I seen a little flick here. There's a little light here that tells you when the camera is recording or taking a photo or whatever, or active. So we'll go ahead and open up the camera, and we'll set our camera to video, just to see if it powers up. And it's saying let's hook up a lens. So we'll go ahead and we'll hook up a lens, and I happen to have a spare, because, you know, there's a couple of these DSLRs floating around here. So we'll put your standard camera lens that you get with most Canon cameras is the 18 to 55 millimeter. Has the autofocus and the image stabilizer on it, so that's a little handy. Take the protective covers off, and go ahead and line up the markings on the camera and the lens. And with your EF type lenses, you follow the white dot or some kind of white marking with the same marking on the lens. So they just lens it, and you know, usually turn it clockwise to lock it, and we'll power up the camera. So it says it says a card cannot be accessed, reinsert, or change the card or format the camera. So let's see if we can get into the menu, and it allows me to go into the menu, and it will format the card. So this is now we're at the format screen, and it says format card. All data will be lost, and you always want to do a low-level format on a camera. And anytime that you do transfer, you know, your photos or your videos off your card, and you fill a card, you always want to do a format, always, on these particular cameras. It just keeps the camera happy, it keeps the card happy, and you'll have a lot less problems saying that your data's corrupted or anything like that. So I talked too long, so the auto power off kicked in. We'll change that because that's annoying. So we'll format the card. We'll do a low level format. And since it's a new camera and a new card, we're going to do the format 3 times. So we're going to hit it again. And then we'll do it one more time. And now the card is ready to go. So I'm looking at my time here, and I'm at 24 minutes. So we got another couple of minutes that we can talk and bullshit. So we'll look at the menus here, and We got the image qualities and the beep and the release shutter without card, image preview, and then your other. There's a lot of menus on here, which is what I really like about this one. It's got a little bit more menus than this one. And then we got the exposure compensation, auto lighting optimizer, custom white balance shift, color space, picture style. Then we got the dust data delete, and then you got your autofocus mode, which is you want to pretty much take it off face tracking, because that's kind of annoying, and put it on flexi zone, multi-point. Then we got movie servo autofocus. Usually you want to do is disable that. It says using an external microphone will reduce the amount of lens noise drive recording, so we'll disable that, so it's always happy. And then grid display. I like having my grid on, and I like grid number 1, which is your crosshairs. And then we got the movie recording size, so we'll see what we got. We got 1920 by 1080 at 30, and then 24 frames per second for 1920 by 1080. Then we got 1280 by 720 at 60 frames a second, and then 6040 by 30, which is a completely useless format these days. So the nice good thing is that Magic Lantern will change these settings. You'll have a lot more options to play with that. And then we got sound recording, and then video snapshots. And then we got all the other menus, like protecting images and rotating images and erase images and print order. And then you got your histogram display. And then your image jumps and slideshows and ratings and control over HDMI. And then you got your system management for selecting folders and file numbering, and to format the card. And then you got your auto power off. So we're going to change that, because that is annoying. And we're going to disable that. And then you're going to adjust your LCD brightness, your LCD auto off. So that doesn't matter, because usually most of the time I always run a separate monitor to check out, see what the camera is doing. And then we got your time zone. So we'll check to see, and we're not in LA, so we'll change that, and see where in New York, because that's where I am, and it's 12:22. The date is correct. The time is a little off. It is currently 9 a.m., so 9 a.m. and 26 seconds. So that doesn't matter to me, so that's good. And then you got your languages and your systems, and then all the other good stuff. Screen colors, you can change your screen color to make sure you are, and your touch control, sensor cleaning, GPS devices, and then your certified logo, and your custom functions, and copyright, and clear settings, and the firmware is 1.01, so I'll have to change the firmware to enable my Magic Lantern to 1.0.04, so Magic Lantern can have all that happy stuff. And that's pretty much it for the basic overview of this camera. So now in probably the next video, I'll go on and put Magic Lantern into this and see if I can brick it, because it is unsupported by Canon. And if you brick the camera, you're pretty much fucked. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.